Sydney. I'm so glad that you all are here. We're going to dive right in pretty quickly, but just to let our candidates know and also to let you know, the rules for today are that each candidate gets a 2-minute opening statement to introduce themselves and what they stand for, and then we'll dive into questions. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer the question, and then if any candidate calls another candidate into question or brings them up, they'll have a 90-second rebuttal. And then at the end, each candidate will get a 2-minute closing statement.
My name is Sarah Cawley. I'm running for Select Board for the town of Burlington. Thank you, Sydney, for moderating. Thank you to Marge and the Council on Aging team for putting this together, and thank you all for coming. I have been a Burlington resident for over 20 years. My husband, Tony Salamone, is a lifelong resident, and we are raising our 4 kids here. They're 14, 9-year-old twins, and a 7-year-old. They all attend Burlington Public Schools, and we love the town and all the amenities it has to offer. I currently work for the town of Burlington, also in the accounting office, so I'm in town hall every day. I have a pretty great relationship across departments with town employees. The bulk of my professional experience was actually in human resources and recruiting in the private sector, so working with partners in consulting firms. I'm also a town meeting member for Precinct 7, which has been a great learning experience in terms of how our town functions and around the budget process. I recently wrote and presented a town meeting warrant article at the last meeting, which was widely supported by my fellow town meeting members. I've also, over the last few years, as I've come out of the haze of parenting really young kids, just become more active and involved and informed about what's going on in our town. I'll just close with, I'm driven and excited to lead this town at the select board level in a way that's transparent and responsible and centered around the residents, and I hope I can gain your vote on April 6th. Thank you so much.
I'm Brad Bond. My wife and I moved to the town of Burlington in 1996. Our daughter was born in 99 and went through the Burlington school system. She's graduated from college now and is working over in Woburn, but I'm sad to say she'll be leaving us to go back to school again down in New York City in the fall. But it's been fun having her participate in the campaign. So why am I running for selectman and why now? Well, Mike Runyon, who was here when we heard that he was stepping down, I thought, given my 18 years of participation in the town, once our daughter got school age, I got really involved, town meeting, Ways and Means, Rotary, BCAT, Board of Directors, and so I've done I put in a lot of volunteer hours, and I've also served in leadership roles. I had the challenge of being chair of Ways and Means as we were coming out of the 2008 crisis, and I'm proud to say we kept taxes down to, since we knew so many people in town who were out of work, we actually kept the tax levy down to $100 per household per person, while at the same time maintaining services and having no layoffs. So it was a small miracle that we were able to get through that time of crisis. I served as president of BCAT as we were going through a transition with both the board of directors and the staff, and I'm proud to say that BCAT is in a very good position today. So I've been on Ways and Means for 18 years, where I've served on each and every subcommittee, so I actually have a good working relationship with every department in town. I've even served on the schools subcommittee way back when. So given my knowledge of the town, my good working relationship across departments, and my past leadership experience, I thought I would be a good candidate, and I would certainly appreciate your consideration for a vote. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Joe Moretti. Before we get started, I just want to thank that gentleman right there, Mike Runyon, for the 9 years of experience that I've had on the board. And because of him, I've learned a lot. So he needs a round of applause for that. So my name is Joe Moretti. I've been in town for 42 years. I've been working here. I've lived here for over 20 years now, 24 years. I've been on the board for 9 years. I think my experience on the board says a lot all by itself. If you look around and see what we've done in this town with the new DPW department, all the facilities we have, the tax rate has been fantastic. These are the things we look forward to. My job is to make sure that the tax rate for you seniors and for us stays reasonable. That's our job. We have two very very big projects coming up that are going to take a lot of time and effort to make sure that everything stays status quo. What's the best way to do it? You'll probably ask at some point today. We don't know. I don't know if there's 4 or 5 different ways to do it, but the best way is going to be what is convenient for you guys. You're on fixed incomes, a lot of people. I know my income's fixed. I make so much a year, and that's it. So that's a big part of it. We have a couple great candidates running. My seat is considered my seat. I don't want to lose my seat. I'm not done yet with this town. I'm not done. So I would truly consider one of your votes on April 6th. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for attending. My name is Adam Sinesi, and I'm a candidate for town meeting moderator. I'd first like to start by thanking Sydney, as well as Marge and the Council on Aging team for hosting us this afternoon. So I've been a town meeting member for 3 terms, and I've really made the most of that experience during my time on town meeting. I've served on the Capital Budget Committee, at one point as the chair of the Capital Budget Committee. I've also served on the Rules Committee, as well as some ad hoc committees that include the Sidewalk Committee and the MWRA Water Study Committee. So I have a good depth of experience at the town meeting level. In addition to that, I've also served on committees that include the Fire Station 2 Building Committee and the the rec facility, the DPW rec facility committee, the building committees. So again, I've been around the block. I've really made the most of this opportunity. The reason I'm running more than anything is that I do think that we're drafting from a very shallow pool of talent as it relates to the various committees that the town meeting moderator has the ability to draft from. So, for example, I see a lot of faces of town meeting members in this crowd today. For better or worse, I talk to everybody. I'm what my Italian grandmother would have called a yacchetto. So, again, with that, when I talk to all these people, I get to know what they do for work. I get to know what their motivation is and what they want to do with their town meeting experience. So when it comes time to putting people and assigning people onto these various committees, I want to make sure that people's backgrounds fit those committees so that they're serving the town in the best possible capacity that they're capable of serving. And with that, there's sort of a next step to that. What we want to do is we want to take advantage of these opportunities at the committee levels to promote people that eventually would want to serve on the planning board, the school committee, the select board, and put them in positions where they'll get the requisite experience so that they're moving on into those other roles in capacities that they can serve the town the best way they possibly can. In addition to being a town meeting member, I've been a People Helping People volunteer for the St. Mark's Pumpkin Patch every year of its existence. I'm also a father of 2 children. Thank you.
My name is Bill Byer. I am the current town moderator and hopefully the current and future town moderator. I've lived in town for almost 40 years now. I've been involved in your local town government for almost all of that. I served on town meeting for 25 years. That included a dozen years on the Ways and Means Committee, which I chaired for 4 years. And for the last 7 years, I've been the town moderator. And I would like to continue doing that. I think I do a good job at it. I run a fair meeting. I have appointed active committees that are doing their job. So those are the 2 big pieces of what a town moderator does, and I've done them well. My committee appointments include approximately 60 people. Now, out of 126 town meeting members, I have the vast majority, a big chunk of them already involved. So it's a constant issue to reach out and get people to involved. Somehow, not everyone wants to jump up and volunteer, but we've got good committees working, we've got a good town meeting working, and I hope I can continue my job doing it. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Eileen Sickler, and I'm running for the 3-year seat on the Housing Authority. Thank you, Marge, and to the Council on Aging for providing the opportunity for all the candidates to come and share their thoughts. It's unfortunate that my opponent has decided not to opt in for any of these. I have a non-traditional background as I started Bentley College in my late 20s, where I earned my accounting degree while working full-time, and then went on to earn my CPA. and I've lived in Burlington for almost 40 years. I've volunteered my time and skills over the last 21 years by serving on various town committees. My most recent experience on the Housing Partnership Committee gave me the opportunity to understand the town's housing issues, and that includes public housing. While affordable housing is critical for a prosperous community, so too is public housing for those low-income seniors and those living with disabilities to find a home. The Burlington Housing Authority's mission is to provide safe, decent, clean housing for this underrepresented group. I've demonstrated my commitment to the town over the last 21 years and have gotten things done in all the committees for which I've served. I'm asking for your support by voting for me as a member of the Burlington Housing Authority Board on April the 6th so that I can continue to be an effective volunteer. And I would urge you to go visit my website, elect-eileen.com. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for coming. Thank you to the Council on Aging and Marge for having us and having this event happen again. I'm running for re-election to the school committee because I care about Burlington's children, our families, and our community. As a lifelong educator myself, I listen carefully and I do my homework before making decisions. Most importantly, I've been a driver of change and an independent voice. There are many examples. I won't get to all of them, but I'll give you a few here. There are three responsibilities of a school committee member. We have to do policy, budget, and oversight of the superintendent. I feel I've done a good job in these areas. When I first got elected, many policies had not been updated in 30 years, a situation which exposed the district to legal risk. Because of my efforts, all of the policies are now updated and available on the website. I also worked hard to improve transparency with our budget and accounting practices in response to audit findings that were found during my first term. With my encouragement, we hired our first business manager whose sole job it is to be responsible for budgeting. I have encouraged more communication with parents, including a variety of new translation methods. Did you know that there are over 55 languages spoken in the homes of the children in our school district? So another improvement is that we have now social workers and other support in every school helping children with post-COVID and other mental health issues, which have been an issue. With my insistence, the budget information that we provide to town meeting is now much clearer and helps them understand how we plan to use taxpayer funds. In my oversight capacity, I work closely with Dr. Conti and our new terrific Assistant Superintendent, Dr. Chen. I'm proud to say that they value and use my knowledge and experience in the field of education. My goal is to continue to advocate for excellence for every child, so that every Burlington student can reach their full potential and become successful adults. I respectfully ask for your vote on April 6th or in early voting. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me today. My name is Megan Dvoychek, and I am the parent of two students in district. I have a son and a daughter who attend Francis Wyman Elementary School in 3rd and 4th grade. Over the past 9 years as a resident, I've become more and more involved in Burlington. I have been, for the past 6 years, the president of the Special Education Parent Advisory Council. And what our job is to advise the school committee on matters that pertain to the education and safety of students with special needs. I am appointed to the Ways and Means Committee. I'm a member of town meeting, and I have coached 8 teams over the past 6 years as part of the Burlington Baseball and Softball Association. So I've gotten more and more involved over the years, and I've gotten to know a large network of families and understand what it's like to raise a child in today's world and to educate a child in today's world. It's growing very different, and it's important that we have someone who has a pulse on that. As we move forward with our building projects and other issues in town, we need to make sure that we are making fiscally responsible decisions that fit the needs of the taxpayers, and especially those who are on fixed incomes. We have we have 2 school building projects that are potentially coming up. We have the Fox Hill building. We have our high school is in a feasibility study phase, and our police station is also coming due. And these are all important projects, and we need to make sure that we're funding them in a way that's responsible for everyone in the community. And if you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them. And I hope that you all will find my website, Megan for FOR BPS. meganforschoolcommittee.com, and my email is meganfor@bps@gmail.com. Thank you again for having me today, and I hope for your vote on or before April 6th. Thank you.
Okay, candidates, thank you very much for those introductions. And thank you guys for your questions. I think these are all fantastic. I'm really looking forward to hearing what else you want to know. I think we're going to start with some of your questions, and we'll do a little select board section here. So maybe since we went this way last time, we'll start down here with you, Joe. First question, what can you do for seniors with cost of living? Taxes come up very quickly. Any chance of lowering senior taxes? Burlington could be the first.
Thank you very much and good night. I have no idea how to answer. Can we lower taxes for seniors? I love the concept, but boy, that's something we'd really have to look at. I have no concept even how to answer it. If you guys want to answer that, all the best to you. Because how do you lower taxes when we have so much amenities in this town for everybody, especially the seniors, especially the rec department? We have quite a bit here for everybody in town. And to lower the taxes would almost be parting of the sea. That's all I can say. Mike, help me out, will you? Where'd you go all these years? You finally left me. No, I really can't answer that one because I don't think it could ever happen, to be honest with you. That's just the honest.
So one thing I didn't mention on my introduction is I was born and raised in Florida, and Florida has a very different tax structure down there. Get this, you pay your property taxes based on the price that you paid for your house originally. So my folks who spent $28,000 on their house my folks are doing great. So this has been an issue of concern. Marge knows about my neighbor around the corner who was living on Social Security and her husband's pension, which they seem to decrease every single year. So as I'm sure folks who've been on Ways and Means with me over the years are tired of me telling about my neighbor, but her situation is not unique, and it's important as we're making budgetary decisions. So all we were able to do for her is get her on that program to delay the property taxes until to come out of her estate, and because she was just chewing through her retirement savings just to be able to stay in her house, which she and her husband had bought right after World War II. Actually, they moved there so long ago, there were only 5 houses on Mill Street. So, yeah. Oh, and there was no running water. They had to go up to the top of Mill Street to get water for the day. So I've heard about the history. I've heard about the history of Burlington. So it turns out that if we're going to make changes to seniors and taxes, it has to be at the state level, because we actually confirmed this, March, that we actually have, there's state legislation that we can't have a different tax rate for seniors. So that's not something we can do locally, but long term. Thank you. But we're also, as far as property taxes are concerned in town, we do have these big projects in. The good news is, while taxes will be going up, we're going to be, hopefully we'll be able to layer these things in so that the delta each year will be as small as possible. So we're aware of it, and we're doing all we can. Thank you.
This is definitely something that is within the purview of the select board to keep an eye on, because, you know, we're looking out for all of you. I mean, the seniors especially, because I know you're on a fixed income. A lot of you are on a fixed income. So keeping our taxes as low as possible across the board is really important. And one way we can do that, we're in a very beneficial position as a town in that 60% of our taxes are paid by our commercial sector. And right now, a lot of the offices are vacant because of, you know, COVID and working from home. So we hired our economic development director, Melissa Tentoklis, at just the right time. I think it was around 2019 when she started. So she's a great resource in town hall to keep pushing to bring in new businesses so that they can help alleviate the tax burden across the board. So that's just something that as a select board we need to keep pushing and encouraging that work to build on the business community in order to keep the taxes low for our residents.
I'll let you do that. We'll go back to the other direction. Should we go to the question in the audience?
I just on the deferred, how you can defer your taxes. I don't think everyone is aware of how to do that. You just mentioned it.
I would just say, see one of the social workers and they'll help you through it. Basically, there's, I believe there's paperwork to fill out, and then you don't have to pay your taxes every year. And when you sell your house, or if your family sells your estate, then they pay the taxes back. I think it's 8% while you're alive, and then I don't know what it used to go to 16%. I don't know what it's going to now. It might be going to 8% after you die. So there is some cost to your family, but it's worth it if you're struggling and you can't, you're choosing between paying your property tax and buying food or medicine. So the best thing to do is to talk to the tax office or talk to the social workers.
Thank you.
Okay.
Question.
Yeah.
There
Maybe
are
we
certain costs that identify and relate to the taxes. The town budget, one of the top 4 or 5 items that relate to the town budget and therefore make it very difficult to reduce or keep control of the taxes. I'm not sure I'm presenting it right, but there are fixed items in the town budget that you have to spend. And they could be like 90% of what the town needs to operate. Now, out of those, how do you limit the growth, meaning the increase of cost?
I think we can do answers to those questions, and then I think I hope folks are amenable to this. Maybe in order to sort of.
Well, first of all, do you understand my question?
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. I can try and restate it, but I think maybe for the future, just so that we can get through enough of the candidates and through enough questions, maybe I'll ask folks to write questions and send them in. Totally okay. I should have stated, but I think it would be better if we have folks write down questions, and that way we can sort of make sure we're getting to a diversity of them. Sound reasonable? Okay, cool. I see you back there, sir. I hope that you can write down your question.
I disagree with that. I don't understand why we can't have a conversation with these people. It comes up once a year. I respectfully disagree. I'd like to make a comment.
Do you want to, maybe we'll do this question, and then I'll have your question, and then we'll switch to the written format? Okay, cool. So the question, as I understood it, was there are some fixed items in the budget that are large spends. How can we think about reducing the budget or reducing those spends to sort of reduce our total?
We just wanted to know the top 4
Top 4.
costs. List them off.
Yeah.
The school system.
School, yes, absolutely. I believe school is about 60% of our town budget, so that's probably the biggest one. And this is a situation where I can freely admit that I don't know the exact top budget items, but I can say that our budget is something that is looked at very closely over the years. They're going through the process right now. Each department is getting a very, scrutinized on their budget and where their spend is, and if there's a drastic increase, what that means, what that's for, and why. So, it's not something that's taken lightly, raising the budget. And, it's really scrutinized, and the select board is also in charge of, looking at that and making sure that we're not overspending. But, in terms of, what the actual items are, I will admit when I don't know, and I will look into it, and then we can look into that. Brad?
So I didn't mention in my introductory statement that I'm a budget nerd, so I have a few comments. So look, the biggest driver in the town expenses is salaries. We've got wonderful people working for the town, and that 85% of what we spend is for salaries. And so that is all, those salaries are all dictated by negotiated contracts, And so, hopefully both sides are being sensitive to. But a lot of our town employees are also residents, so we want to make sure to take care of them, right? So in terms of managing costs, so there's some things we can do. There's some things we can't. I mean, one issue we get from the state is our sewer bill. I mean, we want to pay our sewer bill. We're given the number. It's a big number. We pay it because we need our sewage to take care of. Where there's some things that the town has been proactive and made some cost cuts, our health insurance. We actually have, our HR department actually does a lot of work now of having people manage their care better. We've got programs for stress management, we've got programs for exercise programs and such. And believe it or not, it's actually cut down on our healthcare claims, and that's great. Another one, and I'll have to give credit to the schools and the school committee. We have so there are things in the operating budget. There are also things called accommodated accounts where we have decided that what the bill is, that's what we're going to pay. So I said health insurance is one that we've been able to manage. Another one we've been able to manage again through the schools is our care for the special when we send kids out to special programs, special needs programs that can be expensive. What we've actually done proactively is keep more of those kids in our system and be able to pay and care for them at our local price rate rather than what other programs may be charging. So we do the best we can to manage what we can. Thank you. There you go, Joe.
What he said. How much time do I have?
90 seconds.
90 seconds? Thank you very much for coming. Well, as far as the budget goes, there are four major items, and he hit on all four of them. So we've got a 2% raise or 2.5% raise every year for municipalities, police, fire department. We have the schools that are another big one. Our health insurance is a big one also. So that's where the money goes most of the time. 66% of that tax comes from the commercial side, which is, I'm part of that commercial side. I do own a small building down the other end of town. So I understand both sides of the commercial and the residential tax rate, and that's what makes it important for me to stay here on the board because of that tax rate, because I see both sides of it. You can't keep going back to commercial and saying, let them pay, let them pay. It's just not fair to them because they don't have any amenities that we have. As a resident, I have 1 million amenities. As a business owner, I don't have any. So there's a big difference, but you're right on that question. That was a really good question. Thank you very much. All right, who's getting
little help?
All right. Can we go to the question in the back, sir? We'll go back this way.
Thank you.
I'm trying to yell, then I don't have a megaphone. Thank you. Is that better? No. It's not better. Is that better? I'll do the best I can, hopefully. So again, sorry for that delay, but again, for the current selectmen and the two candidates, there was something that I was aware of, and I found out through the newsletter. There is a program in town where if you qualify financially, you can work for the town and work off your taxes. Correct? So we're looking at options, view this as a learning experience today and sort of brainstorming. I think that's a very important program that could help. It may not be 100% for everybody, but it still could help, and I certainly appreciate the example that you gave about your neighbor. You probably have a lot of neighbors around, not only in Burlington, but around the state. So I wanted to share that.
I had a question. We talked about budgets. If I'm not mistaken, the superintendent of schools proposed a new budget, which, if I read it right, is 6.6% increase. Is that what you're aware of, the selectman candidates? 6.6% in this economy. Okay, so, yeah.
What's the question?
I'm just going to say this. I spent a lot of time in Quincy, and I get the local newspaper delivered every week, and the mayor is Tom Koch, and he has told all of his town departments to tighten their belts. It's going to be a lean year. So when I see someone with a city like that that runs very well, and then the superintendent is looking for 6.6%, I'm wondering why. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. No. I think. Yeah. I think we'll. There was some select board stuff there, but I do think we'll give the school committee a chance to respond. So we'll start with Martha Simon and then Megan Nowojcik as well, for fairness.
Thank you. I think that that's a really important issue to be clear about. The Ways and Means Committee has determined that the school district would have within the tax capacity a 4.5% increase in our budget this year. That's a guideline, we call it, the 4.5%. And as was mentioned, 85% of the school department budget is salaries, and those are determined by contract negotiations. So what used to happen before my time is that the superintendent would bring a budget to the school committee that says, here's our budget at our guideline, 4.5% in this year. Although that, and what people felt was, well, nobody's making any cuts. So now what we do is we make the sausage in public. So the superintendent brought a budget to the school committee in public that has about a 9% increase, actually. And it's the wish list. It's the what we would like to have. He talked to every department, every building head, every director, and said, what do you feel you should do? Now, he asked people to try to go with as little increase as possible. But there may be a need for a new social worker in a particular building, or a new English language learner teacher in a building, or there hasn't been an increase in the pencils and crayons budget in years, and you all know what inflation's doing to that. So what we are getting now, and the school department does our own budgeting process. We go over about 2 months. We present the various budget centers, and each director and principal will say what they feel is important. And then the superintendent will present to the school committee with school committee recommendations a budget that will be at the guideline that was offered. So there's not, we're not proposing a 6% budget or a 9% budget. We're looking at a 9% increase and saying, these are all things that would help the schools, that would help the students, but we are going to have to cut some of them. We're not going to be able to do them all. And so we've done this the whole time I've been on the school committee. So we don't always get the positions we want or the budget we want. But we try to manage, and the superintendent is as our CEO, so he makes the first go at what are the priorities. And so it is confusing because the budget that's out there in public, and you can all look at the budget, is at about 9% increase from last year. But that's not the budget that we're voting on. That's called the superintendent's budget. So we'll have these discussions. And in, I believe it's April 9th, the school committee will have a vote. There will be a public hearing. Anyone in the public is welcome to come to the school committee meeting tonight or any time between then and now and express your opinions about the various budget items. And then on April 9th, I believe, the school committee will take a vote on the budget, and then it will be the school committee's budget. And that's the budget that we will go to town meeting with. And when we go to town meeting will vote on whether they approve it or not. And it's a little bit different from the town side because town meeting is able to vote on each line item on the town side. But the school budget is an item that the elected school committee has made decisions about what the line items are. And so we present our budget, and the whole thing is voted on at town meeting, not individual line items. So I hope that explains some of the questions that people, I hear these questions over the years a lot. And there is an answer to them, and I hope that you've been able to understand from my explanation. Thank you.
As Martha had stated, the budget that's available online is a working document. It's not a finalized budget. And again, inflation is driving costs for us. And I think another point that was not mentioned was that the ARPA funds that have been funding a few of our positions in our schools are now dwindling. And we're having to keep these positions because they are very important. The need is still there for our students, and we need to find room and make space in the budget for these positions so that our students can continue to access the curriculum and make progress. The need is definitely not going away. COVID effects are continuing, and I'm sure if you speak to any of our really talented teachers that work with our students, they will say the same thing. Thank you.
We're going to do one more select board question, and then we're going to mosey on over to the moderator candidates for a little bit. For the select board candidates, there's been a question from the audience about potential conflicts of interest. So I'm going to, respectfully, I'm going to see if I can add a little bit to the question that this audience member asked. We live in a small town. It's not infrequent for people to have friends come before a board that they might sit on, neighbors, relatives. But I do want to ask about a couple of specific conflicts of interest, and we'll ask all of you to respond. The question from the audience member is for Sarah Cawley: can you work for the town and be a selectman? And then Brad Bond, for you as well, it may be relevant that you are married to someone on school committee. And then Mr. Morandi, in the sense of fairness, how do you respond when, if a neighbor comes before the select board, or what do those other conflicts of interest scenarios look like for you? So I will start here, and we'll go this way.
Okay. So to answer the question, yes, you can be on the select board and be a town employee. I did make sure before I even made this decision that was possible, because I do love my job with the town and I love my coworkers and I wanted to keep it. I would just have to recuse myself from any issues around finances regarding specifically the accounting department. So it's happened quite a bit. We've had, people who have connections to the police department, to the fire department, who often have to recuse themselves because of that conflict. And I feel like I am a very fair and impartial person. Throughout this process, I have met with our town clerk, Amy, many times, just making sure that I'm doing things in the right way, because I'm a town employee and I don't want any even perception that I'm doing anything untoward. So I really do try to pride myself on being very fair and impartial throughout this process, and I would continue that if I sat on the select board.
Well, another thing I didn't mention in my introductory remarks is I'm stubborn and opinionated. So as is my wife. So my wife has served on the school committee for a number of years now. This kind of touches on the school committee budget issue. When Dr. Conti was before Ways and Means last year, after, no offense to Martha or members of the school committee, I said to Eric, I said to Dr. Conti, I said, why is it every year the school budget is right up against that guideline, right up against it? On the town side, the town side, the town side seems to be able to do better on coming down underneath that guideline. And Dr. Conti explained that the roles of the schools have evolved. I mean, I'm old enough that I keep saying to all of this, it's like I went to school in Florida where we did not have air conditioning in Florida. And where that rotating fan would come by and you just pray. Anyway, but we had. I said, as long as you got a chalkboard and chalk and 30 desks, what on earth more do you need for schools? And it's like, well, a certain percentage of the kids are allergic to chalk. It turns out a certain percentage. We now have sound systems in all the rooms because, and it's not just a few kids; it's a significant percentage have issues with hearing. So the role and what the schools are required to do, their mission has expanded. But anyway, where I'm going with this, I got to hear from my wife about my comments on the school, and I keep saying to her on this Fox Hill project, is this a want or a need? And so I hate that I can't say more than you have to trust me, but my wife and I both have worked hard for the town, and we're each doing our own thing, and that's where we are. Thank you.
So conflict of interest, it's pretty easy to figure it out. Neither one of them have a conflict of interest being where they are. They wouldn't be in this position to sit here and run for the board that they're on. Conflict of interest is more of a financial gain than anything else. If you're going to financially gain from something that's coming in front of us, then yes, you have to recluse yourself from that particular meeting at that particular time. I'll give you a quick, for instance, across the street, they were going to put in condos over where the piano store is. My cousin was the lawyer involved in that. I had no financial gain whatsoever in it, but it was my cousin. So I said, I am going to recluse myself from this because I don't want anybody to say that, well, that's Joe's cousin. So that's why it got approved. So there's certain times when you just have to think about what you're doing for conflict of interest and walk away from something. If people understand it, that's great. If they don't understand it, that's great too. Whichever way it goes. But conflict of interest is a touchy situation that none of us are involved in, and we all got to do the best for town. That's what we're here for, to make this town a better place than what it is. Thank you.
Okay, moving for a little turn to our moderator candidates with a question from the audience. This person asked, how do you think town meeting can or should accommodate input from community members who are not on town meeting? Adam, I think you started your introduction, so we'll start with Bill this time.
Thank you for that insightful question. We have a representative town meeting, but it is still the town's meeting. Any registered voter in town has a right to speak at town meeting. You don't get to vote, but you can come speak. We try to segregate the town meeting members in one section so I can keep track of them. But if you wish to come and raise questions and about any issue that's coming before town meeting, as long as it's on the warrant, it's going to be on the warrant to talk about it. I will recognize you to speak. I have to go per our town bylaws. I have to give town meeting members the first chance at talking, but then any town resident who wishes to speak, I will be more than happy to recognize them and give them their chance.
Yeah, so to sort of springboard off of what Bill had said, that everybody does have the opportunity to come to town meeting and speak at town meeting. I do want to note, I want to encourage anyone that is considering coming to speak at town meeting and how they might be treated or spoken to by a moderator to watch our January town meeting. And there was an issue involving rezoning of an area 3A where some of the citizens who came to speak were snapped at and not really treated with the respect that I think we owe our citizens and constituents. So I encourage everyone who's interested to go back and watch that from January town meeting. Another way that we can get people more involved, again, I want to pair people with skill sets to the various committees. The moderator does have latitude when it comes to appointing committees to appoint people from outside of town meeting. So with that, for example, if there's someone who has financial expertise that goes above and beyond, they would be a great contributor potentially to the Ways and Means Committee. Likewise, if someone is a land surveyor or has some sort of experience in that capacity, they may be a great fit for the Land Use Committee. So there is latitude for the town moderator to get people who aren't necessarily town meeting members increasingly involved.
I just want to offer, Bill, if you want a 90-second rebuttal to that.
Yes, I do wish to rebut that. It's not easy running a meeting and coordinating between 100-plus town meeting members, members of the public, and the town administrators. It's an issue of keeping everybody on the topic. There was one gentleman who wished to speak about things unrelated to the issue that was before us, and I had to rule him out of order. That's my job. Was it personal? Did I try to hurt someone's feelings? No. The job of the moderator is, one of the jobs as a moderator is to keep the meeting focused on what it's about. And that is what I try to do. Unfortunately, at that meeting, there was a town meeting member who moved the question before some of the town residents got a chance to speak. Again, that is something completely out of my control. Someone says, want to move the question? and people wish to, then we have to bring the debate to an end, and we vote on the article. These are all part and parcel of learning to run a good meeting. Thank you.
Okay, we'll do another moderator question. In the last couple of town meetings, there's been some efforts to add some higher tech components, whether it's going hybrid permanently or using electronic vote counters. Both of those were voted down, but it seems like there's been some interest in modernizing or updating our tech use. To both candidates, what are your thoughts on those kinds of efforts? And we'll start this time with Adam.
So as a candidate for moderator, it would be completely inappropriate for me to speak to an issue that's going to come in front of town meeting. What I will say is any decision that gets made regarding changes to tech that will come to town meeting will be made by town meeting. You're not going to see me as the moderator get into the audience and give my opinions on these issues. That is something that happened at September town meeting, and I thought it was wildly inappropriate of the incumbent to do such. If the incumbent chooses to take positions on issues of town meeting, they should be running for town meeting. I'm running for the moderator position, and I'm going to let town meeting make the rules of town meeting.
Again, thank you for that question. That was a hot topic. Back in September, there was an article that was promote having town meeting have to operate on a hybrid basis, meaning people in person and online. Now, I recused myself to allow me to speak on that issue because it was my responsibility to speak on that issue, plain and simple. I've been running the meetings. I ran the hybrid meetings. I ran the meeting on the high school field. I ran meetings that were completely remote, and I ran meetings where people were all there in person. Excuse me, who better than I to speak on which process worked better? I spoke that it was my opinion that town meeting works best when people are there in person. The level of discussion between people in person versus those online is significantly different. It's a better way for town meeting to operate to have people there in person. And I spoke to that. However, it wasn't my vote. I spoke, and then I sat down. Town meeting took it from there, and there were opinions discussed back and forth, and town meeting took the vote. Not the moderator, town meeting. So thank you for that.
I'm going to ask my question of the current town moderator. You recused yourself in September. And really my basic question is, under town bylaw or the rules of town meeting, is it allowed by law, and also your most recent, in the last 20, 25 years, has ever another town moderator done what you did, coming off the podium and then speaking like you're a town meeting member when you're the moderator? So the question is, by town bylaw, were you allowed to do that?
Yes, I am allowed to do that. That is why you recuse yourself, so you are not running that part of the meeting. But then you are allowed to speak. I am still a resident of the town. I don't give that up. So, but you ask, has any other moderator done this? I can't think of any other question that came up in any other time that directly affected how town meeting operates. And as the person who stands there up front operating the town meeting, I felt it incumbent upon me to express my opinion and the experience and expertise that I had seen from having run these other meetings. But it is completely allowed.
I think for fairness, we'll give,
Yeah, so I mean, it may be allowed, but again, think about how the moderator has oversight into appointments that are made to committees of town meeting. Was he sitting there judging how people responded to that question? Does he hold grudges?
Do a rebuttal.
I mean, I definitely think that there's, even though it might have been within the bylaws, or he might have been allowed to do that, I think it was incredibly poor form. Again, town meeting makes the rules of town meeting, and I will not be showing my opinions on issues. I feel like there's been other situations where his opinions have bled through also. But you're not going to see me do similar, and I'm going to leave it up to town meeting. If there comes a point where town meeting decides that they want to run town meeting in a way that I'm not comfortable with, that's when it's time for me to hang it up and retire.
We'll do a 90-second rebuttal on this, and then we're going to move on. And I understand that it's difficult to stick to the written questions, but we are going to try to move to that format. I appreciate your understanding. You will get a chance to speak to the to the candidates after. I apologize. 90-second rebuttal.
I'm not sure where to start on some of this. I did something that is completely allowed, and not only that, it was my responsibility as a member, as the moderator who had the experience to deal with it. And as a resident of the town, I also get to speak. And to say that I would somehow judge people by how they responded to this question, when I sit there and watch them in their opinions on thousands of warrant articles over 7 years. This is just one of them. I don't judge how they react. I don't appoint or not reappoint people based on how they've voted in town meeting. Such accusations are just baseless and plain silly. Thank you.
Okay, ma'am, I see your hand. I recognize that I've been
A former moderator, and I'd just like to make a comment.
I've been so wishy-washy with my own rules. Okay, final time.
Simply a statement. We operate town meeting and all town organizational meetings under Robert's Rules of Order. Under Robert's Rules of Order, the moderator or the leader of the meeting should never express an opinion. Before Mr. Byer spoke at town meeting, I visited the discussion group at the International Association of Parliamentarians and asked the very question. And the response I got was, under Robert's rules, the moderator or the chairman or whoever it is of the meeting should not speak to an issue. And that's according to the parliamentarians. They're the authorities on Robert's rules. So I just thought I hate to support the guy who speaks out of turn, but this is, it's important to know we work under Robert's rules. That is stated in our bylaws.
And if I could comment on that, yes, it is stated in our bylaws. We do operate by Robert's rules. But that is why I recused myself, and I was no longer operating as the moderator.
All right, I think we're going to move on. Much to discuss here, but I want to take a small amount of time with the Housing Authority. I will say Eileen Sickler is running against Walter DeCoste, who was invited and did not choose to attend today. But you can learn more about him on our website, bcattv.org. We have an election center where you can read profiles from all the candidates. So I will just take a moment to address Eileen and give you a chance to say a little bit. Al Fay was a beloved member of the community who passed away recently, and he was very involved in shaping the Housing Authority into what it is today. How do you see the Housing Authority changing in his absence?
Thank you, Sydney. That's a good question. Changing in his absence. The tenure of most of the board members are a long one there at the Housing Authority. And I think that with some fresh ideas and some energy, I think we'll see some positive changes, some changes. And this not only just goes to funding, but also understanding why there was a change in the executive director 4 times over 7 years. It's that sort of thing. So I guess that with a new appointee, whenever that person steps in, and hopefully myself, that we will bring that new energy and new ideas. And I think that's sorely needed there.
Okay, one more question.
Sure, yeah.
Do you see a value in increasing the number of units in the Housing Authority's purview? And if so, how would you go about that?
Well, thanks for the question. And yes, of course, more housing, more units. And I think that would have to go through there's lots of acronyms at the state, through one of the agencies there who manages such things and really controls everything that goes through local public housing. So I would do my best to address that, contact them. And my guess is funding would be critical to that, adding the units. And I don't know if this is my segue to the 13-acre parcel, but there would be a situation where we could add some units. I don't know if you're aware, but there's a 13-acre parcel owned by the Housing Authority. They have had this property since 1987. And this is off of Adams Street, across from the Sand and Gravel. And I believe half of it is wetlands, and the other half, I believe, is developable. Say that 3 times fast, but anyway. So in any event, I'd like to fund a feasibility study to understand what we have there and what we can do there. And that would certainly provide housing for seniors. And by the way, based on the deed, I've done some research, based on the deed, that's its purpose, to provide housing for low and moderate income.
Okay.
Seniors, yes. Yes.
You can pass the mic this way. Okay, we're going to come back to the select board for 2 final questions from the audience, and then we'll move to our 2-minute closing statements. We will start with Mr. Morandi and move this way, and then vice versa. Question from the audience: why have there been no women on the select board since 2010, and what can be done to remedy that?
It doesn't look good in the skirt.
The last time I wore a skirt, it wasn't good for anybody. So, why there's no women? There have been women on the board. Sonia Rollins was on the board, and since then there's been a couple women that have run. Unfortunately, they didn't win the election, so you decide who's on the board of select board. I can't determine who's going to run and who's going to win and who's going to lose. So that's the question. That's the answer. I don't know what else to tell you about that. I don't even need 2 minutes. You guys want to answer that one? Come on, Sarah. Let's go.
So I've had to apologize numerous times through the campaign, actually, that I'm not female, and I said if I tried to address that myself, I just I'm not anyway. So all I can say is I can apologize for not being a woman, and I don't mean, and I haven't meant to step on Sarah's toes at all, but I'm just going to turn it back to I've served in, look, I'm running because I've served in leadership positions in the town. I feel like I'm a homegrown leader. I've been president of Rotary, president of BCAT, led Ways and Means. And, I guess looking more big picture, I guess it starts at more of the grassroots. We actually need to have more women in these sort of feeder roles. If I look at president of Rotary, we actually have about half the presidents of Rotary I can think of have indeed been women. Board of the board of BCAT, about half of our membership are women. So we do have women in the feedership in the feeder roles. So I think we just need to continue with that, and again continue to have both genders running for these offices. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a good question. I don't know the answer. We did have a woman, the last time it was 14 years ago, and since then I believe two have run. They did not win. I will say, it's an important perspective that has been lacking on the board, and I would like to see a woman sitting on the board, whether it's me or someone else. But
we would have never guessed that one.
I do think the lived experience of being a woman and a mom is a gap on the select board, and it would be. I'm not saying you should vote for somebody because of their gender, but take it into account with all the other factors in terms of, experience in town government, your professional experience, and then the perspective that you can give from a lived experience. And I do think it's important that it happens soon, like April 6th. So, just my opinion.
Okay, we'll go back down the other direction. What would or should you do to get more than 14 to 15% of registered voters to vote on town elections?
That's a great question. That number is disappointing to me every year. We have a local election, and I watch it, and I hope and pray that it goes up and up and up. But it doesn't. It's just sticking around at between 13 and 15% of our registered voters voting on our local elections, which is where most of the impact on our daily lives takes place. The people that we're electing to these positions are making decisions that will affect you every day. And it's really important that we get that number up. I do think that the fact that we haven't had a lot of contested races may factor in, sort of been the same people year after year, and so people feel like there's no point in going out. This year we have quite a few contested, which I'm happy to see because I do think Burlington residents deserve to have a choice, and I'm hoping that we can increase the number of voters that get out. A few years ago I was involved in a sort of campaign, nonpartisan campaign, to make signs that said vote local. I don't know if you've seen them. They're like maroon, the Burlington maroon, but they went out a few years ago, and we were hoping that would sort of like have the date and the location and the time, get them all around town, and unfortunately it didn't make much of an impact on the number. So it's something that I look at every year and really hope that we can up that, and we'll see what happens this year.
So, not to be doom and gloom, but the fact that only 12 to 15% of people in town voting, I spin it that 85% of the people don't have any complaints. I mean, I think it's a reasonably good sign. What we need to, look, I do a lot of volunteering, and I sometimes grumble that you see the same faces at all the various venues, and I say, oh, is it the same few hundred people who are doing all the volunteer work? I mean, I think those of us who are active in town would appreciate more help. One issue that we haven't touched on today is having we've got a number of groups in town who don't tend to participate in the town, and they are part and parcel of the town. It would be nice to have more venues like the Civic Expo that was held just right here last month, just explaining what goes on in town. I mean, I would love to see something like venues at high schools where at the start of the year they have people come in and see what clubs are available in the school. That would be nice if we continued to have events like that where people could come in and find out what the range of volunteer opportunities were. So it's a hard problem. I mean, I've been with BCAT forever, and we're always trying to get information out to the community. I mean, as a town meeting member out walking my dog, I find most of my conversations with neighbors is dispelling rumors. It's like, well, I heard that blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, that's not quite what's going on. So how do you communicate? How do you get people involved? It's a hard problem, and I think we're just bumping up against human nature, but whatever we can do will be a plus for the community. Thank you.
Thank you. How do you get the more voters out there? That's probably one of the better questions, because I don't think there's an idea for it. We've put it on BCAT. We've put it on the news stations. We've had these events here to get people to go out and vote. You get 13% of the people that go and vote the first time you actually go out and run a race, to put yourself out there, to put yourself in the people's arms to say, please vote for me, please vote for me. That's a great thing, but the first time is a popularity contest. Let's be honest about it, because you haven't done anything yet. I've been there 9 years right now, and our board's accomplished a lot. So I'm hoping with the race that we have right now, with all these contested races, that a lot more people do show up. And on everyone's campaign letters, on everybody's platform, there's like, please go vote, please go vote. But, you know, like my father always told me, Joe, you can put up 500 signs. They don't vote. You can get those 500 people that actually go vote. So that's the biggest thing. You've heard it from every single one of us. Go vote. If you get 10 people and you get 5 people and you bring 8 people, well, that's a bunch of people that just went and voted, isn't it? So that's what turns it into an actual contest, a race. So make sure that you get the right person for the town of Burlington, for what we need as a community. It's only going to get better. I can tell you that. It's only going to get better. Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to head into closing statements. So would you go ahead and pass that, all that gear down towards the other end, and we'll come back this way. Before we go into closing statements, a couple of points of privilege. Again, thank you all a ton for coming. This has been really wonderful. If you wouldn't mind my saying, I am the news reporter for BCAT, the cable access station here. We do a fair amount of news, and we've worked really hard to get information out about the election. So if you want to know more about these candidates, you can watch debates and forums with many of these people. Those are available online, as well as letters to the editor from people in your community, why they're voting the way that they're voting, and answers to a common set of questions that all of these candidates have responded to. You can find that at bcattv.org and look for our election center. I hope it's a wonderful resource. Also, on your way out, I've put a sign-up sheet for our newsletter. If you want to get news on the election in your news inbox, your email inbox every weekday, I would love it if you would subscribe. I'd love to email with you. So please go ahead and add your name. Okay, with that said, we'll do 2-minute closing statements, and we'll head back this way.
I want to thank you all again for coming today, and thank you for your time. I'm excited for the opportunity to serve the Burlington community as a member of the school committee if elected on April 6th. I'm excited to bring my experience, my well-rounded experience with various programs in town on the Special Education Parent Advisory Council, Ways and Means, and town meeting. And I think my experience on Ways and Means will be especially helpful during the budgeting process and making sure that we're making fiscally responsible decisions that serve all of our town and taxpayers. I also, if elected, look forward to making or advocating for improving educational outcomes in foundational areas of reading, writing, and math. All of our students learn differently, and they deserve our support. We have fantastic teachers who are able to serve our students here in district, and if we have more program options for those teachers, we will inevitably save money of the taxpayers. And I am hoping that I can earn your vote, and please vote for me on April 6th or before April 6th by early voting or voting by mail. Thank you.
Well, I had a few minutes to think about that energy question, about bringing some new energy and positivity, et cetera, to the Housing Authority. And I thought back, well, so just in 2 years on the Housing Partnership Committee, and I was the point person on most of these things, we formalized the process for the lottery in town for affordable housing. I created a master list of all the subsidized housing inventory that we had in here, that we have in town that hadn't been done. And I also created financial statements from the get-go, from the time the housing partnership was formed. And so now we know exactly, where the revenue came from and what we spent it on. And then lastly, we did a housing needs assessment report, and we went to town meeting and got funding for that. So, okay, so for the closer. So thank you again, Marge and Sydney and Council on Aging, for giving us the opportunity to inform the voters who they are, their qualifications, and their goals. And I also want to thank you all for taking the time to become informed voters. So to wrap up the conversation, I'm a retired CPA. I've called Burlington my home for over 38 years. I'm a self-starter who late in life put myself through Bentley College. I've been described as someone who takes the initiative. I'm determined and respectful of other opinions. Outside of volunteering in our local government, I enjoy lots of different things. I've been involved over 25 years with my stock club, golf, book club, garden club, participating in my dog agility club with dogs Tiger and Hazel. And Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Thank you all for being here. I'm here doing exercises. In Burlington, we have 109 public housing units, most of which are located on Birchcrest Street. The tenants pay approximately 75% of the operating costs, and then the state provides the subsidy for the balance. The Housing Authority is really independent of the town. The only services the town provides is trash removal and recycling. One of my goals on the board is to secure funding from both federal and state agencies for projects, repairs, and maintenance. Also, as I mentioned, a feasibility study regarding housing on the 13-acre parcel. Another goal is to ensure policies and procedures are current and comply with federal and state safety regulation. This is the time to rejuvenate the board. I'm confident that I can add value to the board because of my knowledge of housing, my accounting and management skills. I'll bring the same level of participation that I've done over the last 21 years for all the various town committees for which I've served. As I've proven, I get things done. And this is what I'll do for the Housing Authority. So please visit my website, elect-eileen.com. And on April 6th, I respectfully ask for your vote for a seat on the Burlington Housing Authority. Thank you for coming. And oh, by the way, there's cookies and trail mix over there. Help yourself.
Well, I too would like to thank all of you for being here. When I ran an online town meeting, I was standing up at the podium in the high school auditorium, looking out at an empty room. Everybody else was online someplace. It's much preferable looking at people when you're speaking. So thank you all for being here. As I've said, I've been involved in your government for 30-odd years. That's not all I do in town. I'm on the board for People Helping People. I'm one of the trustees of the Congregational Church, so I get the privilege of helping to care for that 292-year-old building that's still standing and still serving its purpose. A couple of years, we'll have a 300th party for it. And it's easy to see why I'm running, and I'll throw out my qualifications for it. I've been doing it for 7 years. I run a very balanced, even meeting. I keep my own opinions outside at the door. I do the same thing when I'm appointing committees. I have a number of very active committees operating well, doing their job, making recommendations to town meeting. I stay out of their way. Once they're appointed, I never go to their meetings. I don't ask them what they're doing. Once they're appointed, that's their business, and I let them go about it, because that's what a moderator does. He gets the heck out of the way and lets people do their job, and he helps town meeting run as effectively as it possibly can. So thank you for your time. If you have questions about how I run a meeting, I encourage you to go look at some of the meetings available. The ones that have been held remotely probably aren't very exciting to watch because there's not much to see. But anyway, I've run meetings online, half in person, on the football field. I'm well qualified and well versed in what it takes to be a town moderator. Thank you.
So again, I want to echo the sentiment that many have said. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this afternoon. One thing that has made me extremely proud of this campaign is that I have built, and I continue to build, a very broad coalition of people on town meeting, residents, and taxpayers. And what makes me the most proud is this coalition are people that agree on nothing. They come from all different political stripes and have all different shades of opinion. But one thing that they agree on is that I will run a better, fairer town meeting. As far as the appointments goes, I look forward to getting more people involved. And again, one of the first things that I plan to do if elected, I want to get all the freshman member of town meeting around my kitchen table. And I want to get to know, as I said before, because I take genuine interest in people, I want to get to know what they're good at, why they decided to get involved, and how we can put them to best use for you. With that, I want to do the same thing for all of the committee chairs. I've heard concerns about the future of the town, finance issues. I want to get these committees talking together again, not living in vacuums. And what that entails, I want to get everyone around a kitchen table once a year, all the committee chairs, pop a bottle of wine, maybe do a dish of lasagna, and just get people talking across the various lines. So again, to echo Mr. Morandi's sentiment, I do think that we're going to have a very good year of turnout as far as electorally this year. We have a lot of great candidates that you've had the opportunity to listen to today, and I think that each of those people are going to draw in their own group into the fold. So I'm predicting a better turnout this year than in ordinary years because of the level of competition and the candidate quality. I hope you will join me on Saturday, April 6th, or voting early or by mail, and I humbly ask for your vote. Thank you.
Okay, closing statements. Get more exercise today than I do all week long, getting up and down. So, the closing statements is, I've been here for 9 years. You know who I am. You know what I'm all about. My integrity and my honesty is the biggest thing I have. When I go to bed at nighttime, I can think that, okay, I voted in a way that's best for the town of Burlington. That's what I need to do for myself. That's what I need to do for this town. Every decision that I've made in the last 9 years is to better this town. And I'm not ready to leave yet. I'm not. There's still that police station we got going on. We got a school that we want to do, and I'm not ready to give it up yet. In this process, what you find is that I vote on an issue. A bunch of people may not like the way I voted, but when you sit back and think about it, I voted for what's best for the town of Burlington. Not what's best for a neighborhood, not what's best for a certain individual, not what's best for one person. I'm voting for what's best for the town of Burlington, in my opinion. You put me in this position to vote what I think is right, and that's what I'm doing. I'm voting to think what I think is right for this town. I've lived in this town for 26 years. I think it's the best town around. I've lived here. This common is the best common I've ever seen. Christmas time, summertime, concerts on the common. Everything about this town is phenomenal. The tax base, the amenities we have. And it all starts with the Board of Selectmen, and it goes downhill from there. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I did say that, but I don't mean it in a bad way. But we have everything. We have the school committee. We have the moderators. We have everything in this town is working fantastic. So my last closing statement is, on the 6th, I will be there. Please cast one of your ballots for me. I would love to stay where I am. I really enjoy this place. Thank you.
So for the 6th time, thank you all for coming today. We really appreciate that.
5. I didn't thank anybody.
Oh, okay, 5.
Give him another minute.
So my degree is in mathematics, and I actually honestly don't count very well. Again, we love this town. I mean, my wife and I moved here in '96. You were talking about the town common over here. We learned about BCAT when we went to one of the concerts on the Commons in the summer, and my little 2-year-old was dancing to the band we had that night, and someone with a camera that said BCAT on it filmed her for the couple of minutes. So we had to find out where that BCAT channel was, and we watched the whole 3-hour concert for the 90 seconds of my little girl dancing. So look, this has been a great place to raise my family, and my daughter is already saying to me, Mom and Dad, I want your house because I'd like to raise my family here too. Okay, so look, it's been wonderful. One of the big things that's made it so wonderful is the great deal we get. We have the second lowest tax rate in the area, but we have the third highest spend rate per resident. I mean, it's a really great deal, but we need to keep it that way. So we need to be able to continue working with businesses. I saw Dr. Weiner here, and thumbs up to the Board of Health doing actively bringing in biotech, getting our rules and regulations such that we're bringing biotech in, and there's more on its way. That's going to be one of what I hope is a number of economic drivers that we're going to see in town to, again, keep the services high, keep the tax rate low. So I'm putting in a word for me. I hate talking. Sure, I've been talking about myself often. I hate talking about myself. Look, I've served in leadership roles in town. I've been through various feeder programs that I served on the board of directors with BCAT with Mike for years, and Mike made the jump from there. Thank you. But I'm a homegrown leader. I know the history of Burlington. I know what's wonderful about Burlington. I've worked with the business community, and I'm looking forward to keeping this thing rolling along. And I think I can step in and make a contribution. So thank you for your vote.
I'll say it as well. Thank you all for coming out today and for asking some really thoughtful, good questions. So I'm proud of the work I've done in town over these last several years and my leadership in advocating for residents. Like I said before, it's a combination of my professional experience in both the private and public sectors, my experience on town meeting and speaking up for residents, as well as my personal lived experience as a woman and mom, which would bring a different and important point of view to the select board. I believe it would be a missed opportunity to elect the same people who have served on boards where there may have been a lack of foresight that helped contribute to the financial and municipal building logjam that we're in right now, where we have 3-4 buildings that need to be built all at once. So experience is important, but there is much more to this role and to leadership in general than simply a number of years. I'm running this campaign because I love this town, and I truly believe I can be an asset to this community, and because I want this town to be the best place it can be. I have a record of listening to residents and advocating for accountability and transparency of our leaders. I promise to work hard for and with our Burlington residents, including our beloved seniors, as your select board member, and I hope that I can earn your vote on April 6th. And if you would like to learn more about me, please visit my website at electsarahcawley.com. Thank you all so much.